And it says, and the Lord delivered Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hands, along with some of the artifacts from the temple of God. These he carried off to the temple of his God in Babylonia, and put in the treasure house of his gods. And then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of the court's official, to bring into the king's service some of the Israelites from the royal family and nobility. We're going to go to 8. Number 8 says, but Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, and he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself this way. Going to 12. Please test your servant for 10 days and give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of a young man who ate the royal food, and treat your servant in accordance with what you see. On to 15. At the end of the 10 days, they looked healthier and better nourished than any other young man who had ate the royal food. 18. At the end of the time set by the king to bring them into a service, the chief officials presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. Number 20. And every time and in every matter of worship, wisdom and understanding about which the king questioned them, he found it 10 times better than all of the magicians and enchanters in his whole kingdom. And David remained there until the first year of King Caesar. So basically the title is How Do I Get My Promise? And basically the book of Daniel was a very good book because it really shows basically the transition of Daniel from where he was at and basically how he got his promise from Jesus, from God. During this time, to understand the background of what's really going on, we have to go to Jeremiah, because the book of Jeremiah really tells us who King Jehoiakim really is. That this man, and that King Jehoiakim, basically, him and his little brother Jehoiash were both sons of King of Josiah, and both did evil in the sight of God. Jehoiakim takes the throne after Jehoiash is removed by Pharaoh Necho II, only after reigning for 3 months, and Jehoiakim becomes king at the age of 25. His problem wasn't that he didn't know how to be a man of God, or he didn't have an example, because his father, Josiah, was a great example. Not like he didn't know how to be in position to hear God, because he had Jeremiah right for him, a prophet, to always speak into his life and tell him what to do. But his problem was that he just didn't want to do what God called him to do. That he had all the examples there. He had ways to hear from God, but his issue was he wanted to be rebellious and do what he wanted to do. And that's some of us, that we know people to follow. We know how to hear from God. We know the techniques to actually get a word from God, but we just simply choose not to do anything about it and to do what we want to satisfy ourselves. And to add to that, Jeremiah 36:29-30, it describes the great ungodliness of Jehoiakim and how he even burned the scrolls of God's words. In response to this, Jeremiah received a message from God, and you should say to Jehoiakim, king of Judah, thus said the Lord, you have burned these scrolls, saying, why have you written, and that the king of Babylon will certainly come and destroy this land, and cause man and beast to cease from here. Therefore, thus said the Lord concerning Jehoiakim, king of Judah, he shall have no one to sit in the throne of David, and his dead body shall be cast out to the heat of the day and the frost of the night. So right here, when Jeremiah approaches him, he approaches him with scrolls that God had told him to write concerning Jehoiakim's life. And then, but while Jehoiakim is getting these words from God being read to him for every third to fourth column, he is cutting off the scroll and he is burning it. Every time he hears God's word over his life, he is cutting it off and he's burning it. And he does this with no fear of the Lord. So it proves that this man does not care what God has to say for his life. And some of us do that today. When God speaks into our lives, speaks a word to us, we do nothing but cut that word off and we burn it. With no fear of what God's going to do to us. So what he does is Jeremiah now put in a position where God's like, okay, I need you to rewrite this scroll and I need you to say this to him. Because at first the scrolls was like, you're going to get captured by the Babylonians. The second scripture is saying that now nobody's going to be able to take the throne of David. And now you, as an individual, will be cast to the heat in the frost of the night. So now it gets more personal for his disobedience. And that's what we do. God speaks to our life. God speaks to our circumstances. But now when we get out of line, now God has to speak to us. God has to let us know now this is going to happen to you. So now we know what kind of man this is. Now we have to go back to the book of Daniel. Because now we see right here is that, so now that we see that King Joachim, Joachim, king of Judah, is in the hands of Nebuchadnezzar. So God's word comes to pass. He is in the hands of this man, and now the artifacts from the temple of God is sent back to Babylon. So now, this man that was rebellious towards God, because his direction, the first thing he was told was not to run, not to rebel against the Babylonians. But when he sees that window of opportunity, when they was fighting against the Egyptians, he decided to run and they get captured. So now his disobedience has caused him to get his land taken away from him. And now, since he took away from him the land that God has gave him, that was rightfully his because his father has it, and his father had that was passed down to him. Now the king has ordered Ashpenaz to bring Israelites from the royal family and from the nobles. Now he said, I want your best men to come to me, and they have to serve me. The people that's at the top of your civilization have to come and serve me. And what kind of men did he want? He wanted men that were wise, men that was good to fast to understand, men that would have some. Basically, he wanted the elites of the best that this people has to offer to me. And now that's when we have Daniel, Hananiah, Ishmael, and Azariah. So now is where we get these men from. These men were the top pick from all the Israelites, coming to serve a man that just took away their homeland. And so that's what we go through within ourselves. That all Christians didn't start necessarily from bondage, but we had a period where God's blessings rained upon our lives. We got to chase the true essence of who God is. But now, because of somebody else's faults that we ran under, now we have to be subjected over somebody that has a different type of perspective, a different type of bringing up that we are. I might be in our jobs. Now we have to deal and be under this person that does not come from the same background as us. I'm in the top of who I am. Now the qualification that had me to serve God, this qualification I have to go to serve the enemy. I have to now be humbled and put myself down to serve you. And then what makes matters even worse, these men become eunuchs. I hope everybody knows what a eunuch is, right? Exactly. They cut the man's bottom of the rod. There are kids in the room. So, and what that does, and so what that does is they cut off what made the man be a man. And what that does is cut off the testosterone does make man less, and it makes a man less aggressive because the testosterone in their body has now been cut away. So now they have broken these men down. Say you're the best, but to me you are nothing. You being a man has been cut off, and now your gifts that God has planted inside you has to serve me. These men have hit their bottom. And that's some of us are like that. Our characteristics, the things that make us individuals, the things that people know us for, how now are being cut off. And now we're in a position where we have to serve. Position where we're not what we used to be. So it's very interesting. Daniel named me, God is my judge. God's the one that reigns over me. God the one that tells me what to do. God is the one that when it's time for me to make a mistake or do something right, he's the one that has the authority to tell me what to do and not to do. But now, his name is changed to Belteshazzar. I had it all this time right now that I was sketching. Right? Belteshazzar was a Babylonian name for Baal protects his life. So now you have a man that has a false god that now is said to govern over who I am. I came from the top of who I am. Now something that's false is now forced upon me to protect me. Against who I am. Against the man that God placed me. Against the women that God placed me. Now I have to be protected and reigned by somebody else. Against my choice. After you took me from my land. and you're making my gifts be used for you as you cut me off as a man, cut me off as a person of God. While I'm from the tribe of Judah, a people of praise. You're trying to take me to the lowest point. I can't praise my God. That's what you're trying to take away from me. Because something else is now governing over my life. So now that part right there was basically the transition period in Daniel's life. How he got there. And that's a position that we are in. Our transitional period of our lives. Now what is God doing? Because now all these steps have caused me to be right here. God, what do you want me to do? How do I get my promise? And how do I obtain that thing? By keeping my integrity. By whatever it took away from me, I can still have the blessing that I have left over and to press forward. So now I move to my second point, which is fasting and consecration. Now, does anybody know what consecration means?
Separate.
Separate? Go to Janae.
Set aside for God's purpose to be used.
We talked about that lady yesterday. You.
To set apart to be used.
Okay. Sending games.
It's hot in here.
D.
Oh, separated.
Okay.
To be used.
To be consecrated means to live a lifestyle that honors God.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you right or wrong. I'm going to do that. Just look at you and the answer. But anywho, basically consecration, and the Bible, the word consecration means to separate of oneself from the things that are unclean, especially anything that can taint our relationship with our perfect God. Consecration also carries the meaning of sanctification, holiness, and purity. That's the most simplest way you can get to the point. Very simple. Just now. You feel me? So we know what consecration means, what does fasting means? Something that's so simple that we know all as Christians. Not to eat. Not to eat. Anybody else?
Fasting is to submit your flesh. Submit your flesh under God's control and will. So as you lessen the cravings of the flesh, you get to receive more of a craving for God.
Anybody else? It's not going to tell you if you did it right or wrong. Okay? Well, the purpose of fasting should be that I'm taking my eyes off the things of this world and I'm focusing completely on God. By taking your eyes off the things of the world, we can more successfully turn our attention to Christ. Fasting is not a way to get God to do what we want him to do. Fasting changes us, not God. Fasting helps us gain a new perspective in renewing our belief in God, and should go about in a spirit of humility and a joyful attitude. The Bible never says or commands us to fast. Never says anywhere in the Bible. That is a tool used, that's a form of used as a Christian for us to move forward in God. So fasting and consecration go hand in hand. One is literally saying, okay, I'm going to take this away. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus my beliefs on God as I consecrate myself. I am working on my sanctification, my holiness, and my purity. And so that's exactly what Daniel thus does after he goes to the season where he's in a foreign land and he has to study the arts, the literature of the Babylonians. So now I'm going to do a little reading. And then so in Daniel chapter 1, on verse 5, this is the king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that they would enter the king's service. And so fasting is always a time period. We never hear fasting in the Bible where it's just, you're just doing it. Jesus did for 40, I'm saying, for 40 days and 40 nights. When you do fasting, it's always an objective. And it's always, okay, God, when you want me to stop this, I'm going to let you have your way. Some people put a time limit on themselves. And some people say, no, God, just let your will be done. That's up to your situation, how you feel, what the Holy Spirit leads you to. But right now, we have a time frame of 3 years. My bad, man. I thought we were flying that beat. You been on this time. B was handed.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Everybody give it up for Bobby once again. Ain't loser.
Like a football game.
So now, time frame where now they have to be trained up to be presented in front of King Nebuchadnezzar. This is their training period. We have 3 years to learn everything that we can do so we can be in position to serve him. And so we go down to 8. This is, but Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine, and he adds a chief official for permission not to defile himself this way. Now God had caused the official to show favor and compassion to Daniel. So now Daniel, you see that he has a relationship with God. Because now he's saying, okay, I just can't just do what everybody else is doing. I can't defile my body in this type of way. Because they don't forget that all the people from Judah and Jerusalem, they all work in the same law as Moses, and they cannot eat certain foods. And so the king's table, the Babylonians, they are open to eat anything. So he's saying, I cannot defile myself. I cannot change the covenant that God set aside for my people to do it for you. I can't do that. I don't get down like that. And while he is doing that, God has given the chief official compassion and favor towards him. Once we submit ourselves to God and say, I'm not willing to do what they're doing, that's when God's going to open up the door for favor.
Right.
I'm casting myself aside. I just realized that I can't do what they're doing. And don't forget, these people are eating from the king's table. They have the top of the line food throughout the whole kingdom at their disposal. And he's saying, I can't do that. He literally walked to the palace, seen sushi and pizza, and said, I want crackers and water.
Wow.
That sucks. You know what I'm saying? But that's his mentality. Is he said, I want to allow myself to be like this. To be like you people. And so it says, and then we go down to 12, it says, please test your servant for 10 days and give us nothing but vegetables to eat and water to drink. But for this specific verse, I like the King James Version because it says, prove thy servant, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. So now David's like, okay, I can prove to you I can benefit everybody else in 10 days. If you just let me go back to the regiment that I'm accustomed to. In 10 days, there's my ultimatum. In 10 days, I can look better than everybody. Just see how I look. And I can prove to you. Now, the word pulse means this. The word pulse means, in roughest terms, it means the food from, it says food grown from seeds. So he said, I want food only grown from seeds and water. Just 10 days, I can tell you. If it's good, we can go forward. And so once he food grown from seeds, what God gave to me is the fruit of the Spirit. And the water of the Spirit and what that does. Now in Ezekiel 36:25, it says, I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean, and I will cleanse you from all of your impurities and from all your idols. Now, when Galatians 5:22-23, it says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such thing there is no law. What's interesting, it just said that the water, when it cleanses you, and it would take all your impurities away from all your idols. What's interesting is because now his name is Baal protects his life. So what he did was he said, okay, I see all these things is going on. I'm in position where I have to serve. My name is saying Baal basically governs who I am. What I need to do is I need to drink this water that's gonna cleanse those impurities of my idol. They cleanse the impurities of what they have put on top of me. And I have to feed myself with the fruit of the Spirit to back the deposit with all those things that are missing. So now he has a cleansing period of his life. He said, oh, these idols you put over my name, for sure, I'm going to let you keep that name. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drink this water. I'm going to go to the Spirit. And the Spirit is going to cleanse the impurities of this idol. While I'm learning your literature and the things, the customs of your civilization, what I'm going to do is, while I'm learning it, I'm not going to allow it to become who I am. Yes. So while I'm reading you, I'm still in becoming me. I'm growing me as I'm dealing with you. And that's what we have to do. When the situations are like, as I'm dealing with you, I'm not becoming like you. I am still becoming myself and feeding myself as I deal with my situations. We're going to have this a cleansing period of his life. And he said in 10 days, you can see what this does. And so, when we go to 13, it says, then compare our appearance with that the young man who ate the king's food, and to tell your servant to accordance to what he see. So he agreed that this test, my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's like, that's okay, I'll start over. It says, then compare our appearance with that of a young man who ate the royal food, and to treat your servant in accordance with what you see. So he agreed to this and tested him for 10 days. So he's basically saying, well, give me 10 days to do what I do. He knows that he's going to be cleaning himself out. And 10 days compare me to everybody else that you see. And then treat me according to what you see. I'm in your hands. Fine. This is the test here. And then if you read deep into that text, I think there's a little under that. It's saying that basically the chief is saying, like, if you don't fail it, this can be my life if you fail it. So I'm going outside of the rule of my king. So you're going to have to be successful. A man that serves a king is not putting his life on the line for Daniel. But don't forget, Daniel's not by himself. He's just a spokesperson because we have Hananiah there, Ishmael, we have Azariah. Those are his road dogs, those are them with him. He's just the spokesperson that God is using to step into these situations and to handle it head on first. So he's saying, you know what? These people are eating from the king's table. All of us are on the same level, but just see how I look different from them. And that's how it is to us today. We have people that we like, yo, we're on the same level, but you are eating from the king's table. You are doing better than me. You are more successful than me. But we're the same age. We're doing the same exact thing. But God's saying in 10 days, if you do the regimen that I'm giving you, people will see you different than who they are. And you just cast yourself aside. And then you just do what I want you to do. I can see the difference in between who is this and who is that.
Yes.
They're eating from the king's table. Once again, say he walked into the palace and see everything at his disposal. And said, you know what? I'm going to go back to the ground. I'm going to eat just fruits and vegetables, seeds, and drink water. And in this, you can see how different I am. That's how strong the word of God is, how strong God is. Now, people that are doing stuff, people are doing the finest things in life. But when you see me, you're going to notice me before you notice him. I'm going to have what it takes to take it to the next level.
Yes.
And all I need is 10 days. I just need a time period just to prove to you that I can do it. What he did was he put God on the line and said, you know what, God? We got 10 days. Told me to do it. Let's get it. And this fast people do to today. The same exact fast. We all heard about the Daniel fast. That fast has carried on to say, no, I'm going to set myself aside and I'm going to become more healthier as a person and get more closer to God. And number 50, he says, at the end of the 10 days, they look healthier and better nourished than any of the young men who ate the royal food. So the guard took away their choice of food and the wine they were drinking and gave them vegetables instead. So after 10 days, he proves that God can do what he says he's going to do. I'm more healthier, I'm more nourished than anybody else around us right now. None of these people can hold a candle to me. Because how we can prove that? Because what he did was the chief took away their food and gave them the same regimen as Daniel. So all these people that have the finest thing in life, now they have to go under the same exact authority that you are now under. People have to follow you now. You're setting the trends. You letting people know that I'm here and I'm here to stay and you got to follow my lead.
Yes.
But what is interesting about this is only for 10 days. Don't forget, they have to train for 3 years. And he said, for 10 days, once you see me do my thing, guess what? We're going to continue for the rest of the day, for the rest of the year. So God did that for him. They changed in 10 days. And imagine what they did in 3 years.
Wow. Wow.
The same regimen. In 10 days, they changed everybody around them to become like them. But guess what? Now we have 3 more years. Imagine what God was doing in their lives. So now we have the fasting, we have the consecration. And we'll see what that does, how we set ourselves apart, aside. We get a regimen down. We have a time frame where we can move in and put God to the test. Now we can see our rewards and the fruits of our labor. Now in Psalms 1:3 it says, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that be going forth the fruit in his season. And his leaves shall not wither, but forever he does shall perish. I mean, forever. Guess what? I had that scripture memorized back in like little kids days. You know, I seen this guy. You know what I'm saying? So basically, I'm going to go over it again. It says, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bring forth his fruits in his season. His leaves shall not wither, and whatsoever he does shall not perish. So basically, the saying is that the person that planted himself within God, that's what Daniel did. He said, you know what? These people are like this, but I'm staying rooted into my traditions, rooted into the man God called me to be, rooted inside the relationship that me and you have, and I'm going to plant myself by water. He had water, he had the Holy Spirit in them for him to grasp upon, to cleanse him, for him to become the man God wanted him to be. And his fruits, his trees, his leaves never withered away. What it did was it caused other people to grow their trees. It caused people to get closer to the river, so they will not be able to wither. And everything he did not perish. Now, if we go to 17, and we're still in Daniel chapter 1, it says, to these 4 young men God gave knowledge and understanding to all kinds of literature and learning. And Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. It says, in every matter of wisdom and understanding, but which the king questioned them, he found them 10 times better than all of the magicians and all the enchanters in the whole kingdom. So we see after all this has happened, the young man was presented, and we find this man more intelligent, understand literature. Thank you. He said they have a deeper understanding, have more wisdom than everybody around them. They know 10 times more than the people. Hey, what is it? I don't care. So, so basically we see the fruits of the labor. They have more wisdom, more knowledge, and they can understand things at a deeper level. And that's 10 times more than anybody around them. It was interesting, they never asked God to do none of that. Once again, fasting not asking what God can do for you. That's how you can get more connected with God. So they got all this wisdom as a perk of just doing their job. It's interesting, in Daniel chapter 2:21, it says, he controls the course of the world's events. And he moves kings and set up other kings. And he gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the scholars.
Yes, sweet.
The scholars. He didn't do nothing else. He didn't ask for nothing. He just said, I'm going to just understand your word and move forward. And God gave him wisdom and knowledge. A lot of us be asking God to do stuff, but not knowing what God were you asking for me. So we say, I'm just going to just sit here, be a scholar, handle my job, and guess what? God's just going to give you wisdom, I'm going to give you knowledge. I'm going to give you an opportunity to interpret dreams and visions. And we understand through the Old Testament, the Bible, the people that understand dreams and visions were the people closest to the king, like Joshua. Yeah. Closest to the king. And what that allows us to do is now we can see insight into the person that we're dealing with. What are they dealing with when they're by yourself? When nobody's around, I can understand the intimate thoughts. That's why the kind of gift God gave Daniel. He let all of them be wise. Hananiah, all of them are wise, all of them are smarter than everybody else. But this one, the one that stepped up, the one that was a spokesperson for me, I'm going to allow you to understand the king in an intimate level. In a way that nobody else does. You know why? Because in Daniel chapter 2, the king gets to a point where he said, I have a dream, I need somebody to interpret it. Call all the wise men, all the enchanters, all the magicians. Nobody had answers. They said, we cannot. Because what he did is he said, you know what? I want you to just interpret my dream. I want you to tell me my dream, then interpret it. I want you to tell me what I'm thinking and then decipher it. That's what I want you to do. This is what you paid for. That's why you're here. Do it.
Kevin Hart.
So that's what he tells me to do. And then all the magicians changers like, we can't do that. Nobody knows the dreams of the king. We don't know how to do all that. So he's like, no, I'm going to kill everybody in this position. All y'all stupid. None of y'all know the word. I'm killing every last one of you. So Daniel hears it. He's like, yo, like, bro, we got to meet up. You about to kill all of us. Give me some time. Daniel goes to Hananiah, Ishmael. You know what I'm saying? All that. He's like, you know what? Pray to God that he reveals us to what he's saying, what the dreams are.
Right.
Just reveal it to us.
That's good.
Daniel gets it, and with Daniel chapter 2:21, I just read where it says he controls the course of the world's event, he removes kings and sets up other kings, he gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the scholars. This actually was a part of his worship when God revealed him the answer. I took that from a part where he was worshiping God. He got his answer, and the first thing, because it's started, he's from Judah, they praise and worship God. First thing he said, thank you, God. You reveal the mysteries to your people. You set people high and low. Praise is due to you, God.
Yeah.
Nobody talk like that no more. Nobody's like, God, you reveal the mysteries, you know what I'm saying? You take the leads, and nobody says that. They be like, God, you know what I'm saying? You created the universe. Well, nobody, God, you were black and white matter, you know what I'm saying? The atomic, you know what I'm saying? Nobody says stuff like that. But he had an intimate level. He understands God, these mysteries, these things that I can't look inside this man here, but you revealed it to me.
Yes, God.
And I worship you for that. And so what he does is, he goes to the king and he says, know what? This is what happens in your dream. And God is telling you this.
Yes.
And so what happens in 48, it says, then the king placed Daniel in a high position and lavished many gifts on him. And he made him ruler over the entire province of Babylonia and placed him in charge of all the wise men. For your reward, I'm going to put you in control of everything. That's what you have to do. After God give us that final breakthrough, that final niche, we worship God and we move in it. And that's only then when we're able to unlock our promise that God has given for our lives. He gets it and he moves on it. That faith. Faith is a reaction where he hears it and then he moves upon what God tells him to do. And he gives him gifts. He makes him live a lavish life. And he makes him in charge over all the wise men. Now we know back in the day, wise men were still the magicians, the enchanters, the people who do witchcraft. All those people were basically and part of that group of the wise men. Those are people that when I need help on something, you have to consult what's in your head to help me out with my situation. So he says, all right, then you're going to be held of all, you're going to control all these people. People that believe in Baal, the astral poles, people that believe in these demonic and false idols, you're going to be in control of all of them. And that's what God's going to do. When you get to that position of people that don't believe in the same thing you believe in, God said you're going to be in control of all of them. They say all of them going to be Christians and all that type of stuff. They say that. They say you're going to be in a position where they have to rule under you. And when they need something, they have to seek out your God. Your God's not going to be good enough from now on. What they have is not going to be good enough from now on. The king has to go to him and not to us from now on. Yes. Because what you're doing is not good enough. It's obsolete at this moment in time. So now he is over all these wise men. That almost killed me. So, going to 49, it says, moreover, at Daniel's request, he requested the king to appoint Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego as ministers over the province of Babylon. Then David himself remained in the royal court. So David was like, you know what?
Daniel.
I said David, no. I get those mixed up a lot. Why she got a lot? I don't know. I did. We used the recording. Anywho, so now, so we all know Meshach, I'm saying Shadrach, I'm saying the Abednego's, you feel me? Like we all know they are.
Are you serious?
We all know that's Hananiah, Ishmael, and Azariah. We all know that. They just give him a Babylonian name. So he's like, you know what? The people that was with me this whole entire time, the people that was in my inner circle, so I'm going to be in this high position over the providence of all the estates of the king. I want you to be the administrators over all these provinces. He brought them with him. He did not forget where he come from. He did not abandon his trust server. He did not abandon his support system. He said, you guys are coming with me. And I'm going to still stay in my position. I'm going to stay in the king's house. This is where I belong now. You guys gonna handle my affairs. You guys gonna give everything that you want to. But me, just God called me to do this. I'm gonna stay in the king's house. This is the position God put me in. And that's how God's going to do with us. Be in a position where we're able to put on the people around us. Put on our trust circle. Put on the people that's around us, that support us. But at the same time, not forgetting that my destiny is to be right here. My destiny is to be in front of you guys.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be at boosting because guess what? I'm giving you your own thing. There's a lot of people doing TV nowadays with reality show. They get their wife, put their wife on there, baby, you can do whatever you want to do now. You don't have to depend on me anymore. the destiny God gave me, the things that God had allowed me to indulge in, I'm going to put you on your own platform for you to be successful too. That's what we're going to be able to do.
Amen.
Put other people on. Not forgetting where we came from. I seen this interview all the time. It's like, let's say me, A$AP Rocky talking to Snoop Dogg. He was like, all the people that you grew up with, you don't go back there and get them. He was like, I had to learn that when I move forward, people are going to get left behind. And only some people going to move with me. I can't feel that type of way. I got to get everybody. Everybody's not for this position. Everybody's not born for this. So I'm going to keep on being me, moving forward. And all those other people that have that type of drive, that type of intimate thing, that type of, you know what I'm saying, tenacity, you're going to move on with me. So at this point, it just becomes natural.
Yeah.
People going to fall off, people going to stay on. But you will always know you're in a circle. Those are people that pray with you. Those people that go to God on your behalf. You're always going to know who those people are.
Yeah.
So now David is at the royal courts. Now, and all this is saying that this is actually the transition to how we get what God wants for us. We're all in a position where we're looking for God. We have a desire for God. It's a transition, but now we have to put ourselves in a position to hear from Him. Fasting and consecration, tools that we're able to get what God wants us to be. Fruits of the Spirit, from cleansing ourselves. And God always has an appointed time for that appointed time for all life is our season. He knew what His appointed time was. Some of us don't. Some of us prophesied when it was our appointed time. But our job is not to take it. Our job is just to be scholars and doing what God wants us to do. And that's establishing that connection. God's going to give us favor. God's going to allow us to open up doors. God's going to allow people to follow us into our time where we are now in our royal courtyards. We're in position now where we can now put on people. We're able to reach out and help people. We have a desire to feed back because the love and desire God gave to us in our hearts was only from the fruits of the Spirit. Now we have that locked down inside of us. And thank you guys for listening to me. And have a good day.